Hello and welcome to Tuned In Music+Tech. I'm David Solomon, and welcome to the show. We've got a really fun show planned for you today. It's all around streaming, which is really one of my very favorite subjects in the world. I've been doing it for way longer than most people. I really started way back with a company called Peachtree Audio, and we built amplifiers and preamplifiers and a whole host of products that were just really basically for digital. We built the first integrated amplifier with digital inputs because of really at that point it was a Sonos world. So we kind of built it for products like Sonos and products that would be a lot like Sonos. That was a really fun period, and we were able to introduce a ton of people to the possibility of streaming. In fact, I used to go around and teach people how to rip their whole library so that they could get the very best sound streaming within their own ecosystem. Well, after that, I got to do a really cool stint at a place called Tidal. Don't know where the logo went, but the top black one, if you'll just use your imagination, that's a Tidal logo. I started there. I brought the very first streaming service that was lossless into the United States, which was Tidal. Worked there for a while, got fired by Jay-Z, and about 4 years later, a company called Qobuz was coming to town. So I got in touch with Qobuz, and I was able to launch the first high resolution lossless streaming service in the United States. I got to tell you, that was so much fun, and ended up getting so much experience with so many different pieces of equipment. It was an absolute honor to be able to be in that position at that time when streaming was really kind of coming into its maturity, and we were no longer having to stream just bits and pieces of the music at a highly compressed level. We were now streaming at lossless, which I thought was the coolest thing in the world, and frankly, I still do. I'm going to welcome my friend and partner in crime, Joe Finn. How you doing, Joe?
Co co-host, right, David? Uh,
Co-host and partner in crime.
a moment ago, David, you were talking about high-res streaming, and really streaming has always been super convenient in ways that, I never would have imagined when I first got into this hobby. But it's only fairly recently, over the last 10 years or so, that we've really had great sounding high-res streaming so that people could enjoy music literally in CD quality or even better. So yeah, it's a very exciting time to be, trading music back and forth, right?
We forget so easy, but you're right. It's been a little better than a decade. I think it's been since about June 2014. Before that, streaming was so compressed. I think nobody used it seriously, and for a long time, I really never thought it was going to really amount to much. But it started. We started at really low. Bandwidth with this
Yep.
stuff, barely enough to broadcast your voice. And then from then, it took about, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years for it to go to, full lossless 24 192. So, like I say, I kind of have to pinch myself anytime I open up any one of the music services because they've all got over 100 million tracks now. And so it's just, it's a pleasure. We don't have to our favorite band, you remember this well, Joe, your favorite band puts out a new album, you go buy it, but you want all the others too. But who's got a few hundred extra dollars at that point to go get them? Well, now you've got them at your fingertips. And I believe that we're living in the absolute most exciting time in recorded music. More people have got access to more music than they ever have in their whole life.
It's unbelievable the variety of music that's out there, and again, in really great sound quality, which just wasn't possible when the whole streaming thing first happened. It was very lo-fi.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the players that are out there right
Yeah.
now, or who we consider to be. We'll show you all the players, and then we'll talk to you about the ones that we consider to be the most relevant. Let's see. First up, we've got Our three favorites. I don't know what's happened to the title logo, but at any rate, the middle slide should be Tidal. It's Qobuz, Tidal, and Spotify. Those are the ones that we consider probably the most relevant. And the reason that we consider them the most relevant is because they're starting to deal with features that we think are going to bring streaming to the future. That particular feature that I'm talking about is Connect, and this is going to be a two-part series, so we're going to talk a little more about Connect and show you how it works on the next video. But those were the three guys that actually use Connect. The rest are absolutely just as relevant for maybe different reasons. Like there's some people that like Amazon Music. First off, all of these do high res. Well, I'm sorry, the ones that I'm talking about are doing high res. Amazon does high res. Apple Music does high res. Both are great. Amazon is very compatible with Alexa. So if you want to say something like, hey, Alexa, turn on Bob Dylan, and if you need that kind of interaction, that's a great service for that. Apple Music has that whole ecosystem. I mean, everything's kind of wrapped up into Apple, right?
Hello, Siri.
And what do you think about Pandora and Cirrus?
Yeah, Pandora and Cirrus are good services too, in a sense, David. I think all the streaming services are good. It's just that there are levels of good that then start to get much better, that then start to get much better again. I mean, to me, if you're streaming, it's good, but there are better ways to do it. And I love this slide because it starts to put into numbers for people what we're really talking about. So if you're listening to Sirius XFM, that's at 64 kilobits per second. So obviously there's not a lot of data there. When we start to talk about more resolution, you can literally actually write the number down of the additional amounts of information you get. So Pandora at 128 kilobits per second is obviously twice as much information in 1 second of time. But now let's take a look at Spotify, and now we're up to 1,411 kilobits per second. So well over 10 times the amount of information you're getting at any one time versus Pandora. So it's not something that we've just kind of made it up, or some people can hear it and some people can't. Now you're really starting to get into something that's more approaching CD quality, and there's a lot of information there. So, we're talking about less distortion, higher resolution. It just makes it so much easier to, distinctly hear the bass beat from the kick drum, or distinctly hear the violins from the cellos. It's just a much better sounding medium, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm really excited for the Spotify announcement that they're going to or have started broadcasting or sending out their information in close to CD quality. I've got to do a little more research on it, Joe, but looks like what they're putting out on Spotify would be resampled maybe because everything's going to be at 2444 as opposed to
Okay.
1644. Very few of anything has been really recorded in 2444. So that remains to be seen. But hey, the good news is Spotify now sounds acceptable. It
Mm-hmm.
sounds pretty darn good, which to me, that the reason that that's so exciting is because by far Spotify in numbers dwarf everybody. They've got millions and millions and millions of subscribers. Well, what's going to happen now is these millions and millions of subscribers have now got a Ferrari. They used to have like the old they had a Prius. Now they've got a Ferrari, and a lot of people are going to be stepping up in gear. And there's really good reason to do that now, where there really wasn't before.
It's very exciting that the most popular service in terms of music streaming is now offering people much higher resolution than they did before, because all kinds of people who might have thought, oh, I probably can't hear the difference, now they're actually going to be able to experience the difference. And that's really an exciting thought.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about some differences as well with things that are recorded even better on what we would consider the very best playback systems, the very best streaming systems. which would be, once again, titles blacked out. This is not this is no disrespect to Smith to title. This was working perfectly when we did this before, but the first listing is title. Qobuz, Amazon Music, every single one of them play up to 9240 kilobits per second, which is 24,192. So it's super, super high resolution. So most of the stuff, or I won't say most, a good portion of the stuff that you'll get, the music that you'll get from these services, are actually higher resolution than the CD that you've got. I'm not saying it sounds better or worse. It's probably different, but it is different, and it does have the capability of sounding better than the CD that you already own.
And it wasn't all that long ago, David, we were hoping for streaming to approach CD quality. And now we're talking about, in some cases at least, considerably better than CD quality. So that's pretty powerful. And again, you could see from the numbers we had on the last slide that we're talking about, again, almost 10 times as much information. So again, this isn't just, some sort of hype or hoax or whatever. It's the ability to have so much more data, so much more information means we're getting, really the ability to hear instruments more clearly, and it really adds to the enjoyment of the music.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it once Spotify's gone to lossless or something close to that, I think most everybody's going to just about have to follow at this point. But very exciting thing that just happened last week. And so, but in fact, when Joe and I were first doing this, when we were first lining this video up, Spotify was going to be way down there because they were at 320 kilobits. Well, now they're at 1411 or better. Good news. That just kind of shows you how fast things move in the streaming world, and they are blazing. Joe, let's talk a little bit about the stream. How do you get a streamer? I mean, this is really probably more for the novice, but if you want to stick your toe in, what's a good way to stick your toe in, Joe?
Yeah, so great question. And I'm sure, because this is a kind of streaming basics or streaming 101, there are a lot of people who are, new to it. One of my neighbors said to me the other day, I really need to get into that streaming thing. So I think there's a lot of people who have heard about it, but they're not doing it yet. But really, David, as you've pointed out, anybody with a laptop or a smartphone already has a streaming device. Obviously, a little bit later, we're going to talk about dedicated streamers, but you've got a product in your pocket already that is capable of streaming. And, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so you got your phone, you got your tablet, you've got your computer. I mean, you would believe there's a few systems out there that are using just a computer-based system, and they sound fantastic if you treat them right, if you treat them like a real streamer. Uh, that's another thing that's like, that was super exciting to me. In fact, you were talking about a product. I'm going to pull this up. So let's just say you got your phone and you've really
Mhm.
never hopped into streaming. The first thing that you do is just go to one of the streaming services, and you can find one of those on Google Play or the App Store. Go get Qobuz, Tidal, Amazon, Spotify, whatever you choose. Download that app on your phone.
Mhm.
Now you've got the information on your phone that you've got all the information on your phone. Now we have to get it out of your phone. Now, how do you get it out of your phone or your tablet or your computer? Joe, you were talking to me this morning about this cool little product.
Yeah, we actually just did a video of this not too long ago with one of the fellows from iFi. So this is a separate DAC and it plugs right in. So it's very easy to use. There's actually a DAC, which is, let's break that language down a little bit. It's digital to analog conversion. There's one for each channel. This thing retails for 79 bucks. I mean, it's not expensive at all, and it's highly portable. And that's something that is really cool too, because how many people are taking the train to work, or they're flying from here to there, or maybe you're even just listening in a library where you need it to be a private thing. But here's a product that is we've been selling a product from them. This is, Hi-Fi GoLink Max. We've been selling the previous GoLink for quite some time now, and people love it. Well, they've already got a significantly upgraded product, and we're talking an investment of well under $100. So going to, dedicated streaming products that will enhance your listening doesn't necessarily mean spending thousands of dollars at all. You can spend less than $100 and get an Hi-Fi GoLink Max, and you're going well.
Put a little bow around this section of the video. You've already got it. If you've never streamed in your life, you've already got it. If you want to know how to do it a little better, or you're confused at all, give our guys at Gramophone a shout, or Worldwide Stereo. Either one of those guys could walk you through the exact process of getting your sound to your system. And it's so easy. It plus the benefits are something that you will never regret. They're just fantastic. So Joe, we've talked about how to kind of dip your toe in there. So if you don't want to spend any money, you want to just check it out, get a little DAC and run it into your hi-fi. I think you'll have a great time, and then you'll be back more than likely to buy a real streamer. And there's so many really good streamers out there these days. We picked out a few just to show you, because they're exceptional pieces. This is the first one. And the reason that I picked this one out, this is the new Blue Sound Nano. The reason I picked this out is because it's got Blue Sound guts. That it makes a huge difference. These guys really know what they're doing. They've been doing it, I think, the second longest of any of the streamers out there. There was Sonos to begin with, and then Blue Sound for about 10 years. These guys worked so hard to make a better unit, and they absolutely have. It will do high resolution audio, and it just works every single time, right?
Yeah, and Nano, of course, has a very high quality DAC in it. So that's actually a really nice streamer to get. And as you point out, Blue Sound has been at this for quite a while. There's actually another benefit too, because Blue Sound has quite a bit of different products. So you can do, I think it's up to 64 different products around your house, all talking to each other, with the same streaming. If you were having a party or something like that, you can have a number of devices working together, which is pretty hip. In fact, this one that you've put up on the screen now, David, this might be one of the best, let's say, upscale streaming devices of all time, because this is the Blue Sound Node. They're on, I think, the fourth iteration now. They call this Node 132, and it sells for $699. But they've, again, as you pointed out, been doing this for a while, and they keep upgrading it every time. So, now we've seen a product at $329 and a product at $699 that really are going to take your listening experience to a whole nother level because of the architecture that they've put around the higher quality DAC.
Yeah, that they have, and you can kind of keep going. I mean, there are literally DACs out there for over $100,000. Streamers out there over $100,000. Some of them, believe it or not, over $200,000. So the next product we're going to show you, kind of on scale, if you just sort of take it at, we just talked about a streamer for free. This one may sound a little expensive, but it's just such a cool piece, and it is built unbelievably well. I think this thing weighs like 35, 40 pounds, something like this. But this is the new Marantz Link 10, right, Joe?
The 10N, that's right. And the N standing for network, of course. And so this is a $15,000 product, and it sounds amazing. I mean, when they did their introduction of the Bowers & Wilkins 801 D4 Abbey Road, the limited edition product, we were lucky enough to do the first listening party here. And that's what they were using for the streaming. And it sounded wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. We kind of skipped over something a little while ago when we were talking about resolutions, and I kind of want to get back to that just a little bit.
Yeah.
This won't throw us too far off, but Joe and I were talking about some actual albums that benefit or not benefit from being high resolution, right, Joe?
Yeah, I think for starters, we should probably say that some recordings are simply better than others, right? Like, there's an awful lot of recordings made, let's say in the 60s and 70s, kind of up to around the time of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. That was the first record I ever heard where I was stunned not only by how good the music was, but I could hear that the music sounded different. And, so the quality of the original recording actually does make a big difference.
It does. Joe, that's such a great point. Well, if we're talking Pink Floyd, this is one of the bands that got their stuff re-recorded. They took new recordings off of the master tapes, and these guys blasted up to 2496 in these albums. This is a whole series of albums. If you get your hands on the Pink Floyd stuff, you're right, Joe. It is just fantastic. That's one of those that really benefit from high resolution. There's other stuff that doesn't necessarily benefit from high resolution. The album that comes to mind, only because it popped up like, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago. I always liked the album, but it never sounded great. They Only Come Out at Night by Edgar Winter. That's the one with Frankenstein on it and a bunch of hits with Rick Derringer and whatnot. They put that thing, I think it was in 24 up to 2496, and it sounds just absolutely terrible. Not good at all. Get the original. It doesn't sound great, but at least it's the original, and they don't really mess with it that much.
Yeah, so I mean, it's both the recording and the resolution that they're able to deliver it at. If the recording wasn't good in the first place, it's hard to make it better, right?
It's
Yeah.
nearly impossible.
Yeah.
We got some engineers like Steve Wilson out there that are taking tracks and just redoing the tracks, and he's doing a pretty good job. But you're right, Joe. I mean, once it's down on tape, you're kind of limited to what it's going to be like. Another one of these that we were talking about is really one of the most popular pop albums ever, Fleetwood Mac Rumors. If you get the
Hmm.
original 1644 Fleetwood Mac Rumors, it sounds absolutely amazing. And then they started remixing it and redoing it. And I think the first 2496 sounded terrible. The regular 1644 sounded much better. So don't always think that just because there's a higher number that things are going to necessarily sound better. It's just like Joe said, if this recording started out really, really good, they could make it a lot better. This one was one that started out pretty darn good. And when they made the deluxe album, all they did was just crunch it down and make it louder. And so I want to give you a little tip here. And this is for all the streaming services. If you're listening to a particular album and there's another one that's available, the same album, listen to those two. Typically, this isn't always true, but almost always, typically the one that's lower in volume is going to be your higher dynamic range and your higher resolution sound that you're going to get. That's just a little tip for you, because
Yeah.
we're all Americans here, and two's typically better than one, but not always.
Hey, David, let me just jump in real quick with a couple of folks that have rung in online. The guys at Sound Organization are on, so we welcome them. Our friend MD Chaz says, I was able to use Qobuz Connect and my Blue Sound. Oops, it just jumped on me. I was able to use Qobuz Connect and my Blue Sound node for the first time today. Woohoo!
I am just about to take my Node out of retirement, and I
Yeah.
cannot wait to try it because that has absolutely been my favorite feature. We're not going to really take a lot of time on Connect this show, but next show, we're going to have a whole whack on it so that you really know how to use it and know what it's for and know why it is so absolute cool.
One more, David. Second Rick has chimed in with agree with you guys wholeheartedly. The 80s and 90s records mixed and remastered to Redbook digital standards are hard to remaster and get anything better than that, from the original. So, yeah, I think what we're really saying here, David, is that the resolution at which the signal is broadcast definitely matters, but the original quality of the recording also matters a ton in terms of ultimately how great it'll sound. But that's where I keep saying, even if you start in with streaming, in the lowest resolution services, if you haven't been streaming, that's still a step forward. And we encourage you to take that step because then you can start experimenting from there, with which service is going to be the right one for you. Some of these high res services do charge a monthly fee, which obviously enables you to build your own mixes. So you're not just listening to somebody else's playlist. You can kind of do the equivalent of what we loved doing in the 80s with making our own mixtapes with our own favorite songs on them. So that's a plus, and you can then share that with your friends. So that's a plus. But there is a cost associated with that. Typically it's not huge money, but you gotta at least jump into streaming and start playing with it and see what you might want to do. Because most of the better quality services that we talked about, David, also will offer you a trial period so you can give it a shot and actually make sure that you love it.
Yeah, almost all of them give you 30 days. I'll encourage you guys to sign up to two or three of these, just like Joe says, to check them out, because the next show we're doing a kind of an umbrella right now, but next show we're going to get super micro, and we're going to show you the difference between the actual services, which is the very best sounding services, and we'll go into that. But Joe, you just brought up a really good point. You kind of start out with maybe your phone, and then some people went up to a little better transport. But when you really get into it, you can very much alter the sound of your digital. You can actually make your digital sound, kind of as good as it can get. But the cool thing is you can do this in stages. So let's say you bought a streamer 4, 5, 6 years ago. The one thing that has probably improved in that unit in the last 4 or 5 years is what?
Well, the digital approach and the DAC, right?
The DAC, yeah, the DAC is those are the things that don't ever feel like you're stuck, right? Like I've got a 5, 6 year old node, and the best thing that I can do for my node is add this guy. This is the Hi-Fi Rose DAC, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Does all kinds of stuff. It's got every kind of hookup that you could possibly imagine. And this is a dedicated DAC, which means it's going to have a dedicated power supply. DACs are digital in general are very susceptible to any kind of electrical interference, and almost anything, if it's strong enough, will affect that. So if you can completely uh, um, separate your D to A converter, which is digital to analog converter, it takes all those numbers and creates waves with them. If you can take that and continually upgrade that, or upgrade that from what you've got now, that's something that you're going to go, oh wow, that's really cool. It sounded really good before, but now it's that extra layer, it's that extra quality that you can feel.
Exactly. And as we start to wrap up, I want to just reference Second Rick again, who says that he's talking about the Joe Jackson records that are offered on Qobuz at 1644 or 48 sample rate streams still sound like leagues better than a lot of the same era albums that that are offered at high res. So yeah, it is recording dependent. But I notice up on the screen here now, David, you've got again one of the best selling DAC DAC devices, streaming devices of all time. This series from AudioQuest that is 3 different models now. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
These are some of my favorite portable DACs, and the reason is because I've taken the red and the blue and hooked these things up to literally. This isn't figuratively. This is literally $500,000 to $1 million systems. And I always get the same response. At first, people are going, oh no, he's going to hook up that little DAC to the system. And then the next response I get is, oh my God, I cannot believe the way that sounds. So I really like them because they've never embarrassed me. It's just great stuff.
Well, David, this has been a pleasure for me, of course, every time it is. Any other thoughts you have as we wrap up?
Yeah, the next time we talk, our next show, we're gonna really start getting into the thick of things, and we'll get down a little more in DACs and in resolution. We're gonna be talking about Bluetooth. There's a lot of claims about Bluetooth that have been out there, and we're just gonna set the record straight. Outside of that, join us at I think tomorrow, aren't we having a grand opening at the Gramophone
Yes, we
Design
are.
Center?
Yes, Gramophone Design Build on York Road in Hunt Valley is having an event. But yeah, so absolutely, David. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks to all of you folks who have joined us for this streaming event. And we absolutely look forward to seeing you on our next one, where we start digging even deeper into topics like DACs and so forth.